Hey, what's happening everyone, and welcome back to another video, and today we have ourselves the LK67 keyboard from GAMAKAY, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So the LK67 is also known as the TM680, which is actually sold on AliExpress. The TM680 alongside the LK67 usually come in a bare bones DIY package. Basically, you get the frame, the base, and the PCB, which of course then you go ahead and install your own keycaps and switches. And speaking of installing your own switches, this keyboard is hot swappable, so it is a solderless experience. So for around the same price of just getting the DIY bare bones version with no keys and switches, you would pay roughly around the same amount and get a fully functional keyboard with all the switches and keys installed and included in the whole package, which is fantastic. Now speaking of fantastic, this is by far my favorite keyboard that I have reviewed when it comes to compact keyboards. We have reviewed a couple in the past, including the Echo Neo, which is a nice compact form factor, and it also comes with Gateron Yellows, which is what we also have here on this keyboard, and we'll do a sound test. In the video for this keyboard right here, I actually went ahead and modded it, installed some padding, and kind of lubed it up in a very messy way, and that's primarily because out of the box, this keyboard just didn't sound very right. Now for me personally, this keyboard just didn't cut it, primarily because I was missing the arrow keys, and if I wanted to do that, I had to press FN and then use the arrow keys here. If I wanted to have a delete key, well, I had to remap one of the keys. Thankfully, this keyboard already has it. This keyboard also has a volume dial and an assignable key right here, so I set that to screenshots since I do a lot of screenshots. And since I use my right shift key a lot, having gap separated arrow keys makes all the difference since I can easily tell which key I'm pressing and not misclick the arrow keys for my shift key, which is something that I've had with the Blitzwolf. And the last thing that I really appreciate about this keyboard is the inclusion of the 2.4 GHz dongle, which makes this thing the most versatile compact keyboard that I've had so far. Out of the box, this keyboard weighs roughly around 796 grams, which is actually pretty hefty for a compact keyboard, especially for being a pre-built keyboard. As for my padded and lubed Echo Neo, it weighs 587 grams. The Type-C port is located on the left-hand side, and right here we have a 3-switch system. We can go ahead and have it on a wireless dongle, on the Bluetooth, as well as the USB connection. So in total, you have about 5 different connections, which is plenty. Now turning the keyboard on, the lighting here is pretty nice, it's decent, it's not crazy, but it gets the job done. And from the looks of it, the keys here do look like they are painted on. The print is pretty decent, and overall, you can't really complain for the overall package. Later on, if you want, you can go ahead and switch out the keycaps for something more suitable. And I'm happy to say here the switches and the keys feel very uniform, unlike this one, even though they are both using Gateron Yellows. Now speaking of the switches, for this pre-built, it comes with this single color, and I believe this color scheme only comes with a pre-built, so there's that. Now when this thing launched, it was flying off the shelves. It had blacks, blues, reds, yellows, greens, and I believe silvers. As of right now, I just checked, it seems like everything's sold out except for the blue switch variant. Again, they're all running Gateron, which is pretty nice. So now let's go ahead and talk about battery life. In terms of battery life, I got roughly around 3 days with the backlight being always on at full brightness whenever it's being used. That was gaming, editing, browsing, full days use basically, which should be enough if you're taking it to school or just at a friend's house over the weekend. And without the backlight, I got roughly around a week before wanting to go back and switch to the wired connection. Even though I'm using a USB extender, it still had some interference and the experience wasn't perfect. Of course, being wireless and being a budget keyboard, it's susceptible to a lot of interference, and even Logitech has a lot of problems when it comes to that. And around my computer, I have the phone, the router, and of course, my wireless mouse, which of course can all affect your wireless experience, whether you're on Bluetooth or using the dongle. And that's why you see a lot of people using the wired connection. Now when it comes to using the wired connection, you get a pretty nice experience. Everything is perfect as is. There is no issues whatsoever. And the included cable here, of course, is very nice. And finally, let's go ahead and talk about the software, as well as the whole entire LED system on the back and on the sides, as they are actually not controlled by the software and can only be controlled using the FN key shortcuts. So this is the GAMAKAY LK67, which is being sold on Banggood. Now the TM680 is sold on AliExpress. Again, both primarily offer DIY builds. That being said, thankfully the software on the TM680 does work on the GAMAKAY LK67, because the GAMAKAY software, it supports a whole wide variety of keyboards as well as mice, and unfortunately can sometimes have problems detecting the keyboard, and you have to do a bunch of workarounds and edits to get it to work. But the TM680 software version 1.12 works very nicely without any problems. Just keep it at 1.12 and you should be good. Now by default the software does come in Chinese, but thankfully you can go ahead and switch it right down here using the drop down menu. Now the software here, in terms of lighting, you can go ahead and choose individual keys. It has some presets. You can't do anything advanced, but you can do the basic stuff. And personally, the only thing I've changed was actually this key right here from sound mute to print screen so I can do some screenshots. I got my delete key, my arrow keys, my shift key, and all of my F12 keys right here, so there's no whole lot to complain about if I were to go ahead and switch out some keys. You can always, of course, go ahead and switch out your Windows key if you want, if you're not using it, and the same goes for the Alt keys if you really want. And although the volume dial here is nice to have, it's not rubberized, it's just hard plastic, and it does not respond to fast movements, as it will actually lose tracking and basically do nothing. So if you want to use this volume key, just use it gently at a slower speed, and it will function just fine. As you can see, when I switch to Bluetooth, the actual key here will turn into an indicator for what kind of mode we're in. Right now, it's looking for pairing mode, and it just connected to probably my phone here. So let's go back in 2.4 and conclude this video. And with that being said, that is all for this video. So this is by far my favorite compact keyboard that is pre-built, and it really gives me everything that I'm looking for in terms of delete key, arrow key, shift key, and some extra features like the dial, the extra button, and the 2.4 GHz dongle. The color scheme is pretty decent, can't complain about it. It kind of grew on me, to be honest, and all that comes at a fantastic price point of roughly around $80, depending if you get it on sale. And it's been a long while, but this actually gets my command with stamp approval. This keyboard really does deserve it. But if you really like the layout and want to build your own, the LK67 does come in a bunch of different variants of cases, transparent, different colors. So if you're interested in building your own with a different color scheme, I'll have links in the description down below, alongside a backup of the software here from the TM680, so you can have a flawless experience. So yeah, if you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section below, and let me know what you think of this top-down view with this nice bamboo table. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.